Hello everybody, welcome to another game of StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm. Today we're gonna take a look at a game that I have played, I believe it was like 3 or 4 days ago as of recording this. Anyway, I've recently played this game live on the live stream and it was a pretty fun one. Because in the end I actually go for a little bit of a different play than I usually go for, and I had a lot of fun playing this. So as you might have already noticed, this is indeed not going to be a live game. I am giving commentary to this after the fact, meaning that hopefully I will be able to provide you with a little bit more of a deeper thought process about the decisions that I made during this game, and hopefully I'll be able to explain a couple of things that I decided to do during this game. So first off, I really dislike Swarm Host, okay? A lot of people will be aware of this. I don't like the unit. I think it makes for really boring and really long games. And I personally just do not enjoy playing Swarm Host most of the time. Now, I am aware that in some situations you kind of need to play Swarm Host. But whenever I can, I try and decide to go for something else. And in this game, I do exactly that because I decide to go for a Mutalisks follow-up instead of a Swarm Host follow-up. Now the thing with Swarm Hosts is that you can never really make them just straight up. You can never really make Swarm Hosts and sort of hope that you can defend 2 base all-ins, because you're gonna need at least like 10 or so Swarm Hosts in order to defend anything efficiently. And so most of the time what happens is that you first off, in the early part of the game, need to go for maybe something Roach heavy, maybe something Hydra heavy, but at least something to deal with any kind of potential 2 base all-ins. Because if you go straight for Mutalisks or you go straight for Swarm Hosts, you're just sort of lose the game. So most of the time what ends up happening is that you decide to go for either Roaches or Hydras in the early part of the game, combined with Zerglings and sometimes even some Queens. Now as you can see right here, my opponent is being a little bit annoying. The one thing that I most of the time do when he does decide to pylon block me is either just make it 3rd base, or a natural rather, when he cancels this pylon, which happens most of the time. Or if he doesn't, I will just make a couple of Zerglings and just kill it. But he does actually end up, cancelling it right there. I do already make my Zerglings, got 6 on the way right now. But I'm not doing any shenanigans with taking the 3rd base. I feel like that is extremely risky to do. Don't like doing that at all. So most of the time I decide to just take out the pylon and go for a 3rd base at a normal timing. And it ends up being practically the same, except for the fact that he has wasted quite a bit of minerals. Excuse me. Whoa. Let's try and not choke on myself, okay? That sounded really wrong, didn't it? Anyway, I'm gonna get my 3rd base up right now as well. I did see the probe right there. Decide to split up 1 Zergling only to kill the probe, and I'm gonna send my other 5 Zerglings over towards his natural to see what I can get done. Now he was obviously smart about it, so he already got a pylon building right there in the wall off. So I did manage to force out a pylon right there. He's also, I believe, gonna waste a chrono boost right there. Yeah, he's gonna spend a chrono boost in order to get that zealot out a little bit faster. So all in all, these Zerglings did pay for themselves. Except for the fact that they aren't drones. It doesn't really matter all that much, and it ends up pretty much being completely similar. And I'm probably even slightly ahead because he cancelled that pylon, he delayed himself for a little bit during all of that, and obviously he was forced to make another pylon in his natural. So all in all, what I'm trying to say right here is do not, you know, overreact when you see that a Protoss actually makes a pylon in your natural. If you take the 3rd base, that is okay, but just realize that your macro is probably going to be all over the fucking place for the other 10 minutes of the game, because, you know, it's just way more difficult to play. So right now I got my 3rd base up, I got my Queens coming out 2 in the production tab right now, and it's just making up to be a pretty standard game. So right now you can see me make a subtle little tiny move right now, and you can actually see that I decided to have a look at the gas geysers. The gas geysers are like the one giveaway that you have a Zerg in this moment, okay? I am macroing up behind this, gonna get these standard gas geysers going, but the reason why I'm checking for these gases is to know whether or not this move out right now with the zealots is actually something scary, okay? Because if he, let's say, would have only had 1 gas geyser up right there, what can he go for? He can go for 4 gates, for 3 gates, with maybe a mothership core. He can go for really aggressive build orders. However, now that I've scouted for a fact he is 3 and 3 mining on 2 gas geysers, it really does mean that he will not be able to afford any kind of super aggressive gateway pushes. So right now, all of the time, I was just making drones, because I know for a fact that it's not gonna be some very heavy gateway aggression just yet. Now that is a subtle little difference that I think is absolutely crucial to make, because let's say I saw these two zealots move out and they took control of the watchtowers. If I wasn't aware that my opponent had two gas guys mining, I had to compensate for those zealots and probably make like 20 more zerglings, just in case he does go for some gateway aggression. Instead, what I could do right there is make about 10 drones. Now right now I scouted with the overlords and I saw, okay, he is only having 2 gas guides up. I do not see any gateways anywhere. He's not having a robotics facility, no stargates. He is spending his gateway or his minerals somewhere else, and my opponent decides to go for a really quick third base. Okay, this is probably taken right around the 7-minute mark or so, and the normal time to get that is right around 9 minutes. So my opponent is being extremely greedy taking this third base, meaning that he won't really have any units for another little while. So how do I respond to this? Well, I decide to take a fourth base pretty much instantly, and I also decide to take all the gas guys. Got my lair going up right now, and the fact that he took a gold base makes me a little bit hesitant, because whenever I know, okay, my opponent has a gold base, I also realize that his income is going to be significantly higher. So whereas normally he would maybe be able to support like 10 gateways off of 3 bases, right now he can maybe support like 12 or 13, and even though that difference may not seem very significant, it is actually way harder for a Zerg player to hold certain pushes in these kind of situations. So right now, because I scouted that third base really late, I can't really stop it anymore. I don't have a lair just yet. I don't have the biggest economy in the world, no Zergling speed going up either. So I do not have the chance to actually stop my opponent from having that third base out. And I'm just accepting right now that there is a risk that my opponent is gonna go for a 3 base all in which case I will likely just straight up lose the game. So what I decide to do is throw up my Spire right there. My lair finished up at the standard timing, and in this situation, normally you're not allowed to go for roaches, or you're not allowed to go for mutas without making any roaches. But in this situation, it is a calculated risk, because I know for a fact my opponent is likely not gonna move out for at least another minute or 2. So right now, I'm just banking on the fact that my opponent is likely not gonna move out, and I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that he doesn't move out before the standard timing. Now, it turns out that pretty much never this really happens. If you take a quick look at the units right now that my opponent has, 10 minutes into the game, guys, I actually paused the game right there, 10 minutes into the game, but the only units that he has are right here, okay? They're not very scary. Look at the worker count, by the way. That is kind of insane. I did not realize that at the time, but I got significantly more workers than him. So I guess droning up this aggressively and getting the Spire up is a calculated risk to take. What could have also happened is that he decided to just straight up cancel that third base, and he might have been able to go straight for an all-in from there, which would have probably resulted into me losing. But in this situation, I took a calculated risk to take the Spire this early on, and I'm gonna be able to crank out a whole lot of Mutalisks, okay? 15 in the production tab right there. I'm adding on a couple more queens, because I'm also gonna follow this up with Zerglings, and I'm gonna start adding on these spine crawlers. Now, as you can see, he does have a significant amount of gateways out already, if you've been keeping track on the production tab, and obviously has a pretty sick economy with that third base up in mining. I mean, I have almost 30 more workers than him. He's not even that far from my income. So I need to be very careful right now. Now, normally, when you do play Mutas, you don't really want to engage him head on, you only want to counterattack. But since he is most likely going to move into my spine crawlers, right now I'm considering to just fight him head on. I had a look right there at the army, didn't really seem all that strong. And my spines are about to finish, so right now I'm just trying to dart in from different angles, waiting for my spines to finish. I should really be pulling back right here with the Zerglings though. Yeah, there we go. Gonna be pulling back with them, trying to snipe down the mothership core to make sure that my opponent cannot just teleport home, and my Zerglings just swooping around the back, going for the stalkers. And once these stalkers are cleaned up, I will be able to just straight up go for the rest of his army. 11 more Mutalisks in the production tab, and at this point I basically pretty much won the game. I decide to split up a couple of my Mutalisks. I decide to go straight for this gold base, take my own gold base, take another macro hatchery as well, and I'm just going to start making more spines and more Mutalisks. I do need to be careful, however, that I don't just randomly lose the mutas, but at this point I am in sheer dominance of the game. So hopefully so far, I hopefully showed you some possible aggression that you can do whenever you do play versus a similar Protoss player that is doing a similar strategy. Just keep in mind that there is a pretty huge risk involved with going straight up for Mutalisks. Mutalisks are amazing once you get a whole lot of them out, but you need to make sure that you take them in a calculated fashion, because if you just randomly go for a ton of mutas, you gotta keep in mind that you might just, you know, die to a 2-base all in. So right now I'm just zoning him out most of the time with my Zerglings and with my mutas. Right now making sure that my mutas are wherever my Zerglings aren't and the other way around. So at this point I will be able to split up his army. Doesn't have a whole lot over here. Gonna run my Zerglings towards its base as well as my mutas. Get them together knowing that the main clump of his army is currently in his main base. Blink is likely on cooldown and he GG's out. So thank you guys all for watching. If you enjoyed the game, hit that like button below. Also, if you want to be notified of the next video that I upload, hit that subscribe button and you will be the very first one. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile. And I will see you in the next StarCraft video. Bye! Oh! 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 Oh!